All right, everybody, welcome to your real estate podcast. And today we're going to talk about what to know when selling your home in summer 2026. As some of you may know already, the market has changed. For a long time, we were in a seller's market. You put your house on the market, it kind of flies off the shelf. Now things have changed a little bit and they're leaning more towards the buyer side. So we're going to cover that for sellers if you're looking to sell your house this summer, what to look out for, what to prepare for. And with that being said, if you want to ask me a question directly regarding selling your house, especially in DC and Maryland, I'll leave my contact information in the description below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That is how you help the channel grow. And also, if you're looking to buy, sell your house in Maryland or DC, my contact information is in the description below. Thank you. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. Summer is traditionally one of the busiest seasons for home sales. I would say spring is like the peak, but summer is right there with it, right? So 2026 sellers are facing a market that rewards preparation. What that means is homes fly off the shelf. I just had a listing that closed maybe a week or so ago, was probably on the market for 7 days, but there are houses that are sitting on the market for 300 days and not selling. And what a seller should focus on really is getting the house renovated, staged properly. Virtual staging is a thing now. Just be very careful that your agent or yourself, you don't mislead. Do some false advertising. Say the house looks a certain way that it's not. So be mindful of false advertising. But if you don't want to spend tons of money staging the property, you can consider virtual staging. One thing I recommend you do if you're going to stage a property virtually, I would say you put a picture of the virtual staged room location and another picture of the vacant location so people can kind of get an idea. That's also a way for you to compare both pictures to see if it's accurate, because for instance, if you're doing a living room, you don't want the AI to add a bay window that is not really part of your living room, right? So these are just things to be mindful of. Pricing accuracy is very, very key. Houses that sit on the market you would see are not priced accurately. The market has shifted a little bit. Prices are dropping just a little bit depending on the market. So I remember this one house was going for about $300,000 at the time of purchase, dealing with an investor who purchased the property and wanted to renovate it. So I gave him accurate comps. Everything around that area were going for about $300,000. By the time you get all your permits, you get all the renovations done, houses in that very area were going for $285, $282. So I told him, hey, the market has shifted. That was like 6 months ago, and priced it right around that range, and it was very quick to get off the shelf. But sellers who think their house is worth more than it actually is, one thing I know is the market is going to dictate what your house is worth. It's not any sentimental feelings. It's just like a bike, right? Some people are into motorcycles. They spend thousands of dollars getting it souped up, or let's say a sports car or these old vintage cars. Just because you spend so much money on the engine, the paint job, changing the seats on the interior, doesn't mean the buyer cares about those things. So 9 times out of 10, the market is going to dictate what your house is worth. So strong marketing, more than ever before. I would say that really helped in this property I'm talking about, just getting a bunch of people into an open house, and you create like a FOMO, fear of missing out. And when there was so many buyers and families in that house, they saw each other, and I knew I was getting an offer, the next day, because it's like when a buyer is there and they see you talking to another buyer in the kitchen, answering questions about the property, light bulbs go off like, man, I better submit an offer. I'm going to lose out on this house. So you want to do some really strong marketing. There is a best time to do an open house and the best time for your house to sell. Not to say houses don't sell after that time period, but I would say your first 14 days are very pivotal when you list the property. You need to do the best you can to get it out in front of the right buyers, because once a house sits on the market for over a certain amount of time, buyers start questioning what's wrong with this house, So strong, or they give you low ball offers. So strong marketing more than ever. If you're planning to sell your home this summer, we're going to touch on some things. Buyers are more selective than they were during the pandemic boom. So fixer-uppers, the economy is just not in that place anymore where people want to take on projects. Unless you're an investor, you don't want to buy a house and you got to work on the HVAC. You got to fix the roof, got to redo the flooring, the bathroom. Just the price of building material, everything is going up. So buyers are looking for move-in ready, turnkey properties. So comparing more properties before making an offer, that's what buyers are doing. They're negotiating harder on prices and repairs. As I mentioned, if a buyer does an inspection, they see a lot of damage with the property, they're going to request more repairs. Right? Pay close attention to interest rates and monthly payments. I'm dealing with that right now. One of my lenders, well, I wouldn't say mine, but a partner that I work with, he's almost tired of this one buyer because every time we show a house, the buyer's like, how much is the monthly payment? Yes, you do have estimators online, but a lender that's going to finance your loan can give you a more realistic figure. So it's like, how much is the monthly payment? People are very concerned about that. And this person qualifies for way more, but they want to watch their lifestyle. So looking for more move-in ready homes, we talked about that. Pricing your home correctly is critical. Sit it on the market. If you price it too high, it can sit on the market longer, receive fewer showings, become stale in buyers' eyes. So one thing we do at our brokerage is we can get the house on a private listing, and not all brokerages offer that. So we can get your house on a private listing so the days on the market, DOM, doesn't start calculating. So a private listing, we can kind of market your property privately before it hits the MLS. So something to consider. Eventually sell for less. That's one thing I know is, like, once you start dropping prices, you're going to sell it for less than if you had actually priced it properly and get a bidding war going. First impression matter more in summer because, the weather's nice. There's a longer, daylight hours. People can go look at the house at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., sometimes even 7, and the sun is still out. So, you get your flowers going outside, your curb appeal, mulch, landscaping, make sure the grass look good, power wash, the siding. Exterior, clean up your windows, maintain the lawn. Just when people drive in, they want to feel as though it's home. And obviously the repairs. And also depersonalize the house, right? When people walk into your house, I know a potential seller whose house he actually took it off the market. It's ironic, when I went to go do the listing appointment there, I had already took a buyer there the previous year, and it didn't sell. And one of the things that just turns buyers off is you go in there, too many family pictures and religious pictures. And there's nothing wrong with you having a religious belief, but you're selling something, right? And you don't know the person buying it. They may not want to see that, or some people are very spiritual. They may think it's not a good place for them to go reside. So you want to let buyers see themselves in the house and not you and your experiences. So depersonalize it. It's better you put up pictures of flowers, CDs and stuff like that, rather than your personal kids' graduation or birthday party pictures. Just take yourself out of it and make it look more like a showroom. You want to complete repairs, leaky faucets, damaged flooring, cracked tiles, HVAC concerns, roof issues, roofing, especially and electrical, right? Just those things will pop up when the inspector does their walkthrough. Professional photos are non-negotiable. So this is ironic when I look through expired listings. And sometimes these are agents putting up these pictures out there, and it just looks like really dark, I think with all the technology, yeah, you don't want to lie on the picture, but you can enhance it a little bit. Sometimes you just look at a picture and you just scroll past it. So you want to make sure whoever is listing your home can just capture that person, because everything is shifting to virtual things now. Drone images are good depending on the location of your house, 3D tours. These can dramatically increase showing activity and online engagements. Be prepared for home inspection, negotiation. So as I mentioned, when you do your home inspections, people are always going to try to talk down prices if they see electrical deficiencies or just any kind of plumbing issues. Sometimes they'll require them to be repaired based on the appraiser or the loan company. Sometimes the buyers may be okay if if the lender can work with it, but they may just ask you for some money. All right, so energy efficiency can be a selling point, especially now with gas prices going up. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a plus, but solar panels can be a plus or a minus. A plus, especially in a hot summer, cold winter, house that's heated or cooled by electric. The only issue there is if it's on the roof, what's the age of the roof? Because if people need to replace the roof and take the solar panels off, that can increase cost. So keep that in mind. You got to understand your closing costs, even you as a seller, real estate commissions, everything is negotiable. But 9 times out of 10, in order to sell your house, it's like an incentive to pay for the buyer's agent. You don't have to as a seller. But with the market being what it is right now, it's no longer a seller's market. So if you tell a buyer, no, go add $5 to $7 to $10 to $15 or $20,000 to your closing costs to pay for your agent, they may go to a seller who's saying, I'll cover your agent's fees. It's negotiable, but most sellers cover the buyer's agent fees. It's just an incentive to reduce buyer's cost, right? In a seller's market, when the market is really hot, the sellers have more leverage, but right now it's shifting more towards the buyers, and most sellers cover that. But just consider the real estate commissions. You got transfer taxes, recordation taxes, title fees, HOA resale packages. For me as a listing agent, I normally cover that for my sellers, but some sellers have to pay for that themselves. Seller concessions in case you run into repair issues or just negotiations, and then mortgage payoffs. Yeah, so you need to calculate all of that, and a good listing agent will give you a seller's net sheet to see how much money you're going to take home. Approximate, right? It's not guaranteed, but when all this is done, how much money are you going to take home? Flexibility can lead to a better offer. Diving deeper into that is strong offers isn't always the highest price, So financing type. So somebody may come and say, let's say you want to sell your house immediately due to job transfer, let's say a divorce proceeding you just want to get over with, or let's say you're in a hard time and you don't want to foreclose on your house, and somebody comes and offers you cash, they can close within 7 to 14 days. That may be a better offer than a higher dollar amount offer that's going to take 30 to 45 days to close. So it's all based on your situation. The financing type, inspection contingencies, appraisal contingencies, settlement timeline, when is the house going to sell, home sale contingencies. So somebody may offer you $50,000 more, but they say, I can't close until I sell my own house. You never know when they're going to sell their house. So that may not be a good option. So we just got to be mindful. Just because the offer price is really high may not be the best offer. Talk with your real estate agent to see what works best, right? We talked about marketing strategies. Final thoughts, just going to recap: preparation, pricing, marketing. And that would be that. So we're going to talk about first time selling your house with a realtor. Just the top tips, If you're selling with a realtor, what are the top tips that you may need to think about? First time selling your house with a realtor, top tips, If you're selling your house for the first time, partnering with a realtor can make the process much smoother. So I see it all the time. You see these for sale by owners, and I call them all the time to see if I can list their house for them, and you cannot even reach them, right? And you just think, what if I were a buyer and I cannot even get to you? You know, some of them for religious reasons may not be available on Saturdays. Excuse me, I've heard it on voicemails. You know, either they're taking their Sabbath, they're Jewish, can't be available on a Saturday. Some are Muslim, can't be available on a Friday, whatever it may be. And you just think if you had a real estate professional that can make your house accessible all the time, so you're limiting your access in essence, especially if you're a professional, you're at work at a certain time, can't show the house all the time. So that can be a plus. There are several things you need to know when you do it for sales. Yard sign, some HOAs don't allow that. The right preparation can make the difference between selling quickly for top dollar and sitting on the market for a while. So another thing is, there's a myth that, you know, you do for sale by owner, you're gonna get the most. On average, when you look at the stats, people who do for sale by owner get, you know, about 40% of them sell it for less than those that actually do with the realtor. So sometimes the right agent can make the process smoother, but some people, if you've done it before, that is a cost you can save. So I'm not here to say don't go for sale by owner, but if you are going with an agent, just some things to keep in mind. Interview multiple realtors before choosing one. I recommend that, even though I can just say, hey, choose me. I think competition is fair, you know, talking to the right agent and making sure you're getting ready to sell maybe the biggest sale transaction you're going to make in your lifetime. You need to get the right person to do the job. So interview multiple agents. I know the saying goes, oh, I have a friend, I have a family member that's a realtor. You know, I would ask to see their numbers. You know, how many homes have you sold? Because it's really not fair when you think it's almost like you're going to court and you're going up against a seasoned, I wouldn't say trial lawyer, but like a class action lawsuit lawyer, and you're going to represent yourself. You know, sometimes when you think about custody battles, you know, whether it's the mom or the dad, they go there by themselves, and then the other party has this high-powered lawyer, and then you walk out the courtroom thinking you got screwed, but you don't even know how to communicate to the judge, you know? So it's sometimes something to think about. Just because your friend is a realtor doesn't mean they may be the best person to sell your house. I know the feeling. I'm a realtor, and if a friend of mine or a family member of mine puts their house on the market and don't hire me, it would make me feel a certain type of way, right? But I'll just say this much: interview multiple agents. Don't hire the first agent you meet, even though the stats say 70% of people hire the first agent they meet, right? I would say try to interview a few agents, at least 3. How many homes have you sold in my area? That's a good question. Also, just because somebody hasn't sold a house in your area doesn't mean they can't get the job done. You got to see sometimes, do they have a brokerage support? Because I have sold a bunch of houses in certain cities, but I had to sell my first house there. You know what I mean? So, but how many homes have you sold in my area is a good question. What's your marketing strategy? How do you generate buyers' interest? These are all questions. What is your average list to sell? So list to sell price ratio. The reason why that is important is because some agents just come and they take your listing at the price you tell them you want your house to sell for, knowing very well that's not the market is not going to pay for that. And then they end up dropping, you know, renegotiating the price. I'll be honest, I take listings sometimes that are overpriced, but I let the seller know my number. You know, I wouldn't say my number. I think the number the market is willing to pay. I give them a number. I say your house is going to sell at this. But since you're adamant, I work for you. We can put it on at this price, but let's renegotiate in 2 weeks. Sometimes you can automatically even sign that, like in 2 weeks, we're going to drop the price to this. Because I think that first 2-week window is very pivotal. The bad thing about price dropping is once you drop the price once, buyers are now like, let's see how low they're going to go. And they'll hold off. You may even have a potential buyer, but now they're going to wait to see how low you're going to go, right? Make sure it's priced accurately. See their list to sell ratio. How often will you communicate with me? Just standard SOP for me personally. I do a weekly recap. Standard, let's say nothing happens, no showings, nothing. I do a weekly recap. Or even if something happens but no offers, it's just best practice so the seller knows this is where we are. There are actually portals in my brokerage where the seller can be tied into. Not too many people like that, but some sellers actually prefer that. It's virtual. They can just tie into the platform, see how many showings they're getting, see how many, all the communication can go through. They can see when open houses are scheduled, everything, right? It's kind of seamless, but I still try to send that email to let them know. Sometimes based on the relationship, calls. Here's one thing I recommend for agents. You just ask the seller, how would you like to be communicated with? Because I like emails doesn't mean everybody likes emails. Some people like text messages. Other people are old school, call me. Some people don't want to be called. So ask the seller. As a seller, communicate with your agent the best way you would like to be communicated to and how frequent you would like to hear from them. So for me as an agent, I say over communicate. It's better the seller tells me, look, I know you're working to sell my house. You ain't got to tell me everything, than they're in the dark, especially if the house is not selling. You don't want 30 days to go by, 15 days, they're not hearing from you. They don't know the process. Should we renegotiate pricing? They're just in limbo, So get an agent that's going to communicate with you. Price your home correctly from day one. Can't reiterate this more because for first 2 weeks, trust me, it's very pivotal. You get fewer showings if it's overpriced, sits on the market longer. I've seen a strategy where some people come and they underprice your property and get people to bid on it. It has worked, but it has also failed tremendously, because people sometimes don't bid to that price that you were expecting, but sometimes they overbid. But just because somebody shoots you this idea of let's underprice it and create a bidding war doesn't mean people are going to bid on it. So I've seen it work, I've seen it fail. Just try to price it correctly. Look at the neighborhood, see what houses in your market are going for, and you want to be right around that ballpark. Declutter and depersonalize, and that's one thing I struggled with this one seller, and I just kind of backed out of taking the listing. Just him understanding, and personally, I'm a Christian, but I don't know if I want to see a picture of Jesus in the bedroom, because for instance, not all Christians believe in those pictures being Jesus, so just there are conflicts there. And I'm a Christian, but I don't know if that's the right thing you should have there when you're selling your house. But how do you communicate that to this person when they're very strong in their religious displays? I wouldn't even say beliefs, you don't know. But you just try to tell them, just take that out because you never know. You understand who's buying your house. Not all Christians think a picture of somebody is actually Jesus Christ. It may be offensive. Some people are not Christians. So this is something I've witnessed. And you're scrolling through their previous expired listings, you see why it didn't sell. They just got all these personal pictures up there. The house is just full and it looks so tight, but the house is a really nice house with space. Sometimes you may need to use the garage, use a bedroom as a storage unit, just box things up, And if a seller is now willing to declutter and depersonalize, sometimes you still may take the listing, but at least let them know this is not the best way for it to go. If you really are trying to sell, get an agent that's gonna do the right things for you. And if you work with them, sometimes the right agent may even cover a storage unit for you. You know, if you really are trying to sell, some sellers are like, I could sell it, I could wait. Then you at least know. But if this person has to sell, if they got a garage they can use as a storage unit, or one of the bedrooms, at least let the buyers know, hey, this bedroom is full of stuff. You can at least see the dimensions, but the rest of the house looks like a showroom area. People can understand that. I sold a house one time in Annapolis where it was a garage. We just turned it into a big storage unit where people were not able to walk the garage. They could just open it and see the size of the garage, but the rest of the house looked like a showroom, and the house was able to sell. It's better you get one little section of your house that's cluttered and full of all your stuff, and the rest of the house is just accessible and it flows. So just depersonalize, take away just your religious symbols. Those things are personal to you. Your kids graduate, let the buyer feel as though it's their house. That's all I'm saying. No, I don't want to offend anybody in their religious beliefs, and just let the buyer feel as though it's their house and they're going to make it their place, not you feeling that way. So here's another thing, just on a spiritual level, right? Some people may see things as a spiritual battle if they think you turn this place into some kind of shrine, and you may just turn off another buyer. Let's say I'm a Christian, and if I see some other religious things there, I feel as though it was a temple to worship another god. I don't want to live here. Or vice versa, if I'm some other religion and I see Christian symbols there, and now you think there's going to be some kind of spiritual battle. These are things you don't consider as a homeowner, but there are people that think like that. So when people come into your house, let them see flowers, just nice river paintings, just general decor, and nothing personal, nothing speaking of you. It's like going to a store, a retail store. Some retail stores thrive on standing on their Christian or religious beliefs, but then they only cater to that client. If you are only trying to sell to a certain person, then fine. Maybe a for sale by owner is best for you. But if you just want to sell your house and, to the most qualified buyer, you want to make it general for the masses. So declutter, depersonalize, complete small repairs. We talked about that. Leaky roofs, loose door handles, chip paint. It's crazy what chip paint can do when you think about an FHA loan. FHA loans, when the paint is chipping and stuff, they would not approve it for the most part. They would think it's lead-based paint, especially in homes past 1970, built before 1978. So chip paint, running toilet, burnt out light bulbs, cracked caulking, just little things like that. Get an agent that does professional photography. They just generate more clicks, more hype. You get stronger leads and offers, prepare for showings. So preparing for showings, best case scenario is like you don't live in the house. The house is show ready, people can come and go. But I do understand that you may have to live in the house as you're selling it. You gotta have your house. It's almost like you're just renting an Airbnb. That's how you want to take it. You can't just get too settled. Even in your house, you've decluttered, you just got a few bowls, few plates that you're gonna use, and always keeping it clean. So when you do get a showing alert, maybe you tell your agent, hey, I need at least an hour, or I'll be working from home during these hours, block it off. And when it's time to show, at least 1 hour notice, you can just touch up your house, get it clean. Try not to get too many smells in your house, even if you're living there. I remember I went to show this house and they were cooking, and it's a distinct smell. And the buyer just made it really quick. It's just like daughter's in the room upstairs, dad is in the living room, mom is in the kitchen cooking. It just didn't feel inviting. It almost felt like we're encroaching on their little family time, and we just wanted to get in and out. You're doing yourself a disservice. If you get an hour window, strong colognes or strong cooking smells are not a good thing. And if you can, just get out of the house. You can sit in your parking lot. You can watch people come in. You can even install a camera. Just put a sign that, hey, things have been recorded here. install a camera, sit in your car, and then just give people the freedom to actually look around. Because when you're there, your kids are up in one room, your wife is in another room. People just feel like they're encroaching on your time, and they just want to be in and out. Even if they like the house, they don't feel the comfort. Or sometimes a seller being present can be a plus. I've seen that as well. So it all depends on the situation. Let's say your house is like a showroom. Maybe you get and you're there as a tour guide answering questions. Oh, the AC was done at this time. If they were solicited, you got to read the room. Some buyers just want to look on their own. They don't want to feel like you're selling them on anything. Nobody wants to be sold. So read the room. If the buyer is asking you questions, then yes, you can. Okay, I repaired the roof at this time. The AC was done at this time. But some buyers just want to be left alone. And some sellers, that's why I say get an agent, because some sellers just feel as though you walk in my house, I'm going to guide you through and tell you. And, it can put people off, So just be careful. I would say just get an agent, get a little time, window when people are coming to see your house. If you live there, step out. If you require your agent to be around, you can negotiate that in your contract. Don't negotiate personally. One is, like I mentioned, going to divorce court by yourself, and your spouse or your ex-spouse has a high-powered lawyer. They're going to clean you out, and you're going to feel like you've been abused by the court system, or just lawsuits, going there representing yourself against these lawyers that's what they do for a living. You're just food. So sometimes if you try to negotiate personally, sometimes you got your feelings involved in things, what you think something is worth, and then you deal with like an agent who sells so many houses to negotiate aggressively. You may lose out. Sometimes you may negotiate too aggressively, and it can turn people off because you got your personal feelings involved. Yeah, review every offer carefully. So once again, just because you get the most money from an offer doesn't mean it's the best, So review every offer carefully. And in Maryland, it's amazing. You got to submit offers even all the way to closing. Obviously, you're under contract, and there can be some legal ramifications from backing out of a contract. But as a seller, just know your agent should be submitting offers to you, even if you're under contract, unless you tell them expressly in a written form that I don't want any offers. Then they can make that known. Seller is not accepting offers, but you can always accept backup offers just in case something falls through. Prepare the home for home inspection. One thing I recommend is you preempt that. You go get your home inspection. You fix the things the inspector recommends prior to even going on the market. So you don't always have to show it to buyers, but when they come with their nonsense, you can say, hey, I did an inspection. These are the required repairs. They're already done. Actually, just closed on a house where we had all those repairs done, and when the inspector walked it, they're like, oh, you got to flush out the HVAC. We just provided receipts. Like, okay, that was done. This was done. Okay, we'll do that. And then we closed. All right. And trust the process, showings, offers, negotiation, appraisal, title work, final walkthrough, and then closing. That's how it goes. So just trust the process. And any final thoughts? I'll say selling your home for the first time can feel overwhelming, but preparation is everything. Choose the right realtor, price strategically, make your home show ready, and stay flexible throughout the process. Sellers who focus on presentation, pricing, and professional guidance typically experience smoother transactions and stronger sale prices. That is just the fact. Not gonna say it because I'm a realtor, but I get more money sometimes go with agents. You do have some homes that just are gonna sell themselves. I've been to some neighborhoods where neighborhood is hot, house looks good. Yeah, I go try to give the seller some of my spiel as to why they should hire me, but I know very well this guy can sell this house on its own. This house is gonna sell on its own. Sometimes I even tell him. There's a gentleman I told that. I said, listen, you're in a very hot neighborhood. this house is gonna sell on its own. I don't know if it's gonna sell for the most money though. And it sold in a week, but he left some money on the table. But maybe he saw that as realtor fees and he was okay with it. But I felt like he left about 20 to 30 grand on the table if I would have listed it. But he did it for sale by owner. Another topic we're gonna cover is 10 things to fix when selling your home, because we talked about getting your home show ready and doing repairs. Not all repairs are necessary. I like to live by the golden rule: you do unto others as you want done unto you. Sometimes I even get home warranties on behalf of my sellers for at least 1 year. It just covers me at least for a year as a realtor. You know, even though buyers have like 3 years to go file complaints, but I just try to make sure the product is good. That's all. So not all sellers can afford that. Sometimes you're in a hard financial situation. You ain't got money to repair a house, but you got to get it up off of you. And it's like, I got to sell this house. I would love to repair it, but I don't have the money, right? But in this market now where people are looking for move-in ready houses, you know, I'm not telling you go into some major massive repair and then you can't recoup the money. You spend way more into repairs than when you think about repair costs, and what your house is going to sell for is still not worth it. So I would say, you know, thinking about selling your home, many homeowners assume they need to repair every flaw before listing. That's not necessarily true, but that's often a costly mistake. You know, in today's market, some repairs simply don't deliver enough value to justify the expense. Before you spend thousands of dollars on upgrades, here are 10 things you should think twice about before putting your home on the market. Number one, we'll say minor infractions. So small nail holes, minor scratches on the walls, tiny dents on the trim, you know, work usually don't deter serious buyers, you know. While a fresh coat of paint can help, you know, just these little things buyers they don't really care too much, you know. Just every, you know, imperfection is not really worth the time and money, unless you're dealing with some kind of obsessive buyer that's just nitpicking every single thing. But just some little things you can get away with. But I can tell you though, a fresh coat of paint goes a long way. Outdated functional appliances, yes, that doesn't necessarily need to be replaced. You know, a brand new kitchen with brand new appliances looks better. But if your appliances are older but still working properly, replacing them may not significantly increase your home's value. Most buyers understand that appliances can be updated later according to their personal preferences. I bought a home, was it 4 or 5 years ago? I only had to change the water heater so far. The stove wasn't brand new, the refrigerator wasn't brand new, but they're still functional. So what if that seller would have added those costs when these things have, oh, I changed the washer and dryer. Was it last Thanksgiving when they had the Black Friday sale? Because the washer, it was that one unit, the washer and dryer connected. Either one of them wasn't working, but because it was one single unit, you got to swap out both. So in 4 years of being here, washer and dryer, water heater, but I still got the stove and the other refrigerator and other appliances. So just think about it. And it took actually 3 years of living here for the washer or dryer to go out. So not all appliances need to be replaced. Slightly worn carpeting, that can it can enhance the value of the home. But if your carpet is like really tore up, a lot of stains, if it's like these plain colors that you can get a steam cleaner in there and get it clean, that can be an option. But be mindful of like these colored carpets, like a burgundy, a blue, green. If you try to deep clean those, you can fade the colors and people can actually see the difference in colors, which is like a disservice to the house. So I would say sometimes you may need to replace the carpet, but if it's slightly worn carpeting, unless the carpet is heavily stained, torn, or producing odors, replacing all the flooring can be expensive. Professional cleaning is often enough to improve the appearance. Number 4, we're going to say minor driveway and wall cracks. Hairline cracks through concrete are common and generally don't concern buyers. Most structural issues should be addressed, but cosmetic cracks can rarely justify costly repairs. So if you see the house, like one time we went to see this very, very nice house in Clinton, Maryland, but you can almost see like it's sinking, like the foundation is not working. That got to get addressed. But just a little crack, I got a couple of cracks in my driveway. When I cut the grass, I got to go with the weed whacker and get that little grass that's growing in between the concrete. Maybe I should just seal it off. Anyway, I'll just say that's not something that would drive away buyers. Old kitchen cabinets. So a complete kitchen remodel is one of the most expensive projects a homeowner can undertake. Kitchens can go anywhere from 10 grand, maybe sometimes cheaper, all the way to 50,000 or more, depending on the size of the home. If your cabinets are functional, consider simple improvements such as cleaning, hardware replacements, or repainting instead of a full renovation. Sometimes you got a cabinet refacing. Those are also kind of expensive. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to swap out your entire kitchen. Dated bathrooms. Many sellers spend thousands updating bathrooms only to recover a portion of the investment. If everything works properly, focus on cleanliness, fresh caulk, and minor cosmetic improvements rather than a full remodel. Another thing, number 7, will say partially finished basements. Don't feel pressure to finish an unfinished basement before selling. Buyers often prefer a lower price and opportunity to customize the space themselves. So think about that. Number 8 will say windows. Older windows still function. Newer windows can help. Pricing, especially due to energy consumption, but replacing every window in your home can cost tens of thousands of dollars. Unless windows are damaged, leaking, or failing to operate properly, the return on investment is often disappointing. But windows definitely can upgrade your house if they are new. But let's say if they are old and you got a lot of air draft coming through it in the wintertime, new windows are a plus. But if you got functional windows that are sealed properly, you don't necessarily have to swap them out. Landscaping perfection. Curb appeal matters, but you don't need a magazine-worthy yard. Basic maintenance such as mowing, trimming shrubs, mulching, flower beds, and removing weeds is usually enough. Number 10, you'll say minor electrical or plumbing updates. If your systems are safe and functioning correctly, there's often little benefits to replacing fixtures simply because they're older. Focus on addressing safety concerns rather than upgrading everything. What should you fix before selling? While many upgrades aren't necessary, some issues should always be addressed, such as roof leaks, water damage, mold problems, structural concerns, safety hazards, broken HVAC system, major plumbing leaks, electrical hazards. Final thoughts. The goal isn't to create a perfect house. It's to present a well-maintained home that appeals to buyers. Before investing in repairs, consult a local real estate professional such as myself who understands your market. In many cases, spending less before listing can actually result in a higher profit net at closing. But one thing I'll say, the best repair is often the one you don't make. But I'll say this much, as a homeowner, target spring cleaning. I try to do that. I got an older house. I try to do one decent sized project in my house every year since I bought it. Either I change the fence, I change the flooring, bathroom, whatever it is. Every year I try to do something. Some years I may not be able to do some major project, but I may just go around and paint something, Just retouch it. Keep your house fresh. Because or deep clean in the spring, baseboards, everything, or before the holidays, if you're getting family over, what that does is it keeps you from having to spend so much when it's time to sell. All right. Finally, before we wrap up, we're just going to touch on the interest rates today. And the reason why I put the interest rate topic at the back end of the podcast, I used to put it before, is sometimes I'm talking about evergreen content, right? Things that would help buyers or sellers 5 years from now. But when they hear the interest rates from today, they say, oh, this video is 4 years old, and they skip it. So they don't really hear all the other good content. So I tend to put the evergreen stuff that may last in the front end, and then those who stick around can hear this interest rate section, or we can just cut this into a clip and put it out separately. The national average interest rate for 30-year fixed rate mortgage is currently 6.52% as of today, June 3rd, 2026. For a 15-year fixed mortgage, the average rate sits at 5.82. So average meaning average, right? High, low, medium, right where we are in the middle. Some people are getting a little better, some people are getting a little worse deals based on credit scores, right? Rates highly, let's see, break down 30-year. 30-year fixed 6.52 with an APR of approximately 6.70. 15-year fixed 5.82% with an APR of about 6.03%. 30-year FHA is about 6.46. Imagine during the pandemic, I got a loan for 2.98 or 2.89. Now it's 6.4 something. So timing is everything in the market. But there are people who bought at 8 and 10%, and they see this as still a good deal. So there's no telling that we can ever see those 2% rates when 7 was the norm. 30-year VA 6.52. These rates apply to borrowers with excellent credit and typically include 0.35 in discount points. Your exact rate will vary depending on your credit score, location and loan type, and the down payment amount, right? Rates have slightly retreated from their recent weekly peaks, though they continue to hover north of 650. So you can check with your local lender for a more accurate loan rate. Thanks for watching the podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That is how you help the channel grow. And also, if you're looking to buy, sell your house in Maryland or DC, my contact information is in the description below. Thank you.
Your ultimate hub for real estate insights, breaking news, entrepreneurial wisdom, investing strategies, and self-development hacks. If you're ready to expand your mind and stay ahead of the game floor, you're in the right place. Subscribe now. Your future self will thank you.